You know, a decentralized minimum wage means removing it from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent one. Let us inform you that the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has opposed calls by some politicians to decentralized minimum wage negotiation. According to Labour, decentralizing minimum wage would be at workers' disadvantage in some states. The national minimum wage is for federal workers. The states may fix minimum wages based on its financial position. So sometimes you're wondering if I'm thinking what Labour is thinking.
Well, I think they're just raising concern, just like most Nigerians, you know, based on what they have gone through in the hands of governors, you know. Especially some states, about 15 states that couldn't even pay 30,000, you know. And when once you say, okay, let's decentralize the minimum wage, then it means that some civil servants will even be going home with as low as 15,000, you know, because there's nothing, you can't trust those governors, you know, because there are some governors who are struggling to pay 30,000. And that is where I also sometimes fault the NLC. Before, although this is a wordy fight in terms of getting a national minimum, which is statutory, because it's supposed to be every 5 years, they should have also gone ahead to always protest against some of these state governors who have refused to pay the national minimum wage, which is
as agreed.
As agreed, and it is even enacted. You understand? It is law. And so no state governor is supposed to say, no, because I don't have money, I can't pay 30,000. No. The law is the law. You must respect the law.
Wow.
You know? So I understand where the NLC is going, you know, because if you say you want to decentralize, because I know in 2021, something like that came up. A bill at the National House of Assembly came up, you know, where somebody was saying, I think he called it the differential minimum wage, whereby they will move the national minimum wage from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, where the state and the federal government and the state government will begin to say, okay, fine, so federal government will agree on what they want to, you know, pay, and the state will also, you know, agree what they want to pay to their civil servant. But for now, we need a national minimum wage because they have not changed. The law has not changed. The Ninth Assembly, then I remember, after the second reading, they threw the bill away. But for now, we need a national minimum wage that will move us forward. Maybe after this, they've agreed on this national minimum and they want to decentralize. Fine. But for now, let's agree on the national minimum wage. I heard an economist today, you know, Paul Alaji, saying something about 100,000, you know, for national minimum. I don't know if, because eventually the president will also have to send what he feels the federal government can afford. You know, and if at the end of the day, the National Assembly looks at it and says, okay, fine, based on the economic realities, we want to increase. But as long as the National Assembly increases, either from 62 to 100 to 70 to 90 or whatever,
it's binding.
It's binding. It's law.
Emeka, you know, sometimes when you take a second long, hard look at Labour and federal government concerning the minimum wage issue, you think we are a long way from home.
Yeah, because a lot of issues that are muddled up in the entire negotiation. One, the federal government, of course, I know has no issue with adjusting salaries for its workers, because the federal government does that from time to time. You know, it does that from time to time. You know, but when you talk about wages, are you talking about wages hourly, or are you talking about salaries? You know, there must be a differential. Then, are you also talking about a living wage? Because if you increase the minimum wage to whatever by this time, it's going to have an effect on the economy. It's going to have an effect on inflation, because you already have food scarcity. You know, so more money chasing fewer goods will not be helpful at this time. I thought maybe the conversation should have been around empowering workers in different ways to be able to maximize their potential, in many areas. But you see stagnation. I mean, you find stagnation in different, states. Workers just been there for long, no promotions, nothing. Even pensions are not paid. So the point is that there are certain ways by which, I don't know why governors would even find it hard to do, because if, let's say, the wage, or Edo has started paying 70,000, has paid it twice now. So if is that 70,000, but if you can't pay the complete cash component, I believe that if they sit down with workers, they can look at certain things that that can be put into that can be put into that can be put into that salary, and say, okay, not all the cash will go to the workers at the end of the month, given the current economic realities. But we'll do this and this. But what we are not looking at is the workers and governors keep pumping into the civil service of their states when they are leaving. Every governor does that.
You mean including ghosts?
I'm even talking of the ones they claim they put. And then out of it, you have ghost workers. So you find out that
still drawing the salary.
Drawing the salary. So when governors tell you they can't pay, ask them to publish their wage bill, to publish the list, the nominal roll of civil servants in the state's employ.
The employer.
And then why they cannot pay. They keep talking of ghost workers. Every administration talks of ghost workers. Yet, every administration tells you they've cleared ghost workers. A new administration comes in, they talk about ghost workers. How do the ghost...
And these ghosts keep drawing salaries?
Yeah, how do the ghost workers come in? Because you see people on the roads with spikes, stopping trucks. Many of them don't draw salaries, but you'll be surprised to find their names on the nominal roll.
Wow.
You'll be surprised to find their names on the wage bill. So there are a lot of things that are done behind closed doors that Nigerians don't know about. So when governors are telling you they can't pay, ask them why can't they pay? But they can draw security votes every month. They can draw security votes.
Emeka, and at a time like this, we expect organized labor to be a balancer.
Yeah, that's why I say labor.
The worker in the and the center.
Labor should do a more comprehensive review of this. It should not just be about pay 250,000 and that's the end of it. Because you could say pay 250,000. What if, God forbid, a bag of rice becomes 300,000? You have defeated the purpose. Yes.
We'll go back to square one.
There was a time a bag of rice was 8,000 naira in Nigeria. If anybody had told you that a bag of rice will get to 75,000 in Nigeria, you would have said that person was daydreaming. But here we are. Bag of rice last year was 82,000 naira.
It's still
82,000.
It's still 80,000.
Gary, if anybody had told you that a bag of Gary will get to something thousand, you will say it's a lie. What about beans? Name it. So the point is not just about packing money into the hands of workers. Look at electricity bill has gone up. Remove, for workers living in Band A areas, let's say 250,000. You remove the electricity bill. You remove some other things. How much is the worker taking home? How much is the worker taking home? And
transportation.
Well, you now add transportation. And so there are certain things, I think, concessions that labor can get from government that it can easily get, so that in getting this figure, you know that, yes, is a win-win for workers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up, what about house rent? If you increase it to whatever, landlords will just wait. By January, they'll start, by next month or so, their tenants will start getting quit notices or notice of increment of rent.
All right. Asokwa, how do you take this home?
No, I think it's, because I used to say that there are a lot of things that, the NLC, can do for the workers, let them not just be banding figures.
Yes.
Just sit down, analyze and look at this thing. I know they've been talking to the organized private sector, the federal government, on how based on what they feel is outside.
Ideal, yeah.
But there are some things that, they can also shift ground on. It's talking, just like you said, transportation, for instance. You can say, okay, fine. If the federal government says, we are bringing the CNG buses, they promise the CNG buses. If they say, okay, we are going to give, out of 100, we are giving Labour 50 buses, for instance. Labour can now go back to their so-called file or whatever and strike that one and say, okay, fine, we have removed transportation.
This is a component, yes.
So those are some of the things that they need to look at. It's not just about saying 250,000, because if you say 250,000, that woman in a K2 market will definitely increase the price of tomatoes.
Look at tomato now, from 25,000 to 150,000,
yeah.
a basket of tomatoes in Nigeria.
So that is what the minimum
Unbelievable.
wage does in Nigeria. It spikes
Mine
prices
is,
of goods.
now I know a decentralized minimum wage means removing it from the exclusive list and planting it in the concurrent list.
Yeah.
There are so many things. They say state police, electricity. Look, it's not difficult to remove anything from exclusive to the executive.
Yeah, it's
The
very
issue is about responsibility.
Exactly.
The people on whom you put this, you give this duty to, do they feel responsible enough to
Can
to
they
carry
deliver?
them out? That is the issue.
Yeah.
You see, Nigerians don't care whether it's exclusive or legislative or concurrent or whatever big name is called. What Nigerians want is food on the table and to be able to pay their bills, take care of their families. That is it. So all these big words, we are just worsening people's hunger.
Okay. I guess we are done with that story.